welcome you all this evening on this happy occasion of Teachers' Day. Particularly in the past year and a half, we have all had a very challenging experience as a teaching learning community, and this gives us a moment to reflect on what we have done through the last several years, certainly the last year and a half. It's also an opportunity for us to recognize our colleagues who have shown the warmth and appreciation of our students in a strong measure, and we will take this evening to recognize them for that. So once again, I welcome you to this evening's gathering. With these few words, I now invite our director, Professor Bhaskar Rambuti, to deliver the presidential address.
Thank you, Pratap. Good afternoon to all those assembled here in this webinar. Today we are happy to have the colleagues who have won the prestigious Marty Annapurna Award for teaching last year and this year. I think Professor Venkat was last year, huh? Pratap?
Sir, Professor Venkat is this year. So
Kameshwar was last year.
Kameshwar Rao is last.
Okay. So Dr. Kameshwar Rao, who won it last year, and last year we did not hold the Teachers' Day event because of the pandemic. And I think September was the time when it was at the peak, just about the peak of the first wave. So we did not have it. But we can, today we have therefore two chief guests, which are more the merrier. And of course, this year's winner of the award is Professor Venkat Ratnam. So my congratulations to the two colleagues for winning this prestigious award. There's only one per year. So at any given time, they're not more than, anybody's career in IIT, they're not more than 30 or 32 others who are winners of this award who are here with you. So it's a fairly prestigious award. We also have today the Young Faculty Recognition Award winners. There are three young colleagues. They'll be introduced later. Dr. Uday Kankoj from Electrical Engineering, Sriram Krishnamurthy from Metallurgy and Materials Engineering, and Dawood Kothawala from Physics. My hearty congratulations also to the three for this early recognition of their work. And Teachers' Day is, of course, something that celebrates all teachers in India. It was yesterday, birthday of the Honorable former President, Dr. Radhakrishnan. It celebrates all teachers. I'm sure each one of us must have received some messages from some of our students, at least, who remembered us. And that's probably the biggest gift we can all get. These awards are just extra, things to win, to have, which are quite good. But ultimately, it's the recognition of our own students and their gratitude, which keeps us going while we are at our work. So let me say that we continue at IIT Madras to lay emphasis on teaching. Now, the pandemic has, of course, forced many of us to look at, other modes than chalk and talk. Some of us were already doing it before, but some of us were reluctant. But now everybody has been forced to learn about online tools and so on. And many have come back and have conveyed to me and have shared their opinions with others that this only expands the horizon. And therefore, when we do get back to normal face-to-face classes, we will definitely have a mix of, hybrid pedagogy. We will have online tools also being used to help the student, to make the material available to the student for revisit, or even if they miss the class and so on. And not only that, I think the use of all these kinds of tools, the learning the learning environment, like Moodle and others, and different, the whole richness of multimedia, the whole richness of doing things in a non-synchronous fashion across time. All of these are going to be used by faculty in very different ways, creative ways, to enhance the learning experience for the student. So, and overcome many hurdles which used to come in the way earlier of the student, lacking flexibility in how they approach their learning. So our teachers, not just the award winners, but all our teachers, but specifically the award winners, I'm sure will break new ground in how these new tools can be used to enhance the learning experience, to enhance our efficiency in teaching, reaching the last student in the class, if one wants to paraphrase Gandhiji, and making sure everybody is able to grasp what we are trying to teach. Anything that helps us do that better is obviously something we all welcome, and these new tools are definitely something that it cannot hurt and it can only help. So from that point of view, I look forward to our teaching award winners, but also all our faculty to be entrepreneurial and figure out new ways of doing things better and more efficiently. I also would like our young faculty recognition award winners to forge ahead, keep plugging away, win more awards, especially those from outside IIT, which are markers of our recognition of both our faculty as well as our institute. And I would like to congratulate them, and of course, I'll be handing over the awards to them, I'm sure, in a sort of a small event, which is not open to the public, sometime in the near future. So with this, I'd like to conclude my brief address and look forward to listening to our chief guests as well as our YFRA award winners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks. It's my pleasure now to introduce the two chief guests for this evening, and then I will invite both of them to share their thoughts and experiences with us. Professor G. Venkat is the Institute Chair Professor at the Department of Mechanical Engineering, and he has over 30 years of teaching experience. He taught for 2 years at IIT Kharagpur before moving to IIT Madras, and that was 28 years ago. Professor Venkat has also taught at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology for 2 years. His thermodynamic property calculations are used in thermodynamic programs worldwide, and a property invented by him and a student to distinguish a liquid from a vapor phase is used to fit modern equations of state. He uses practical examples extensively in his classes and emphasizes the synthesis of equipment and processes, and his unique style of using day-to-day examples to explain difficult engineering concepts typically endears him to his students. It's also my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kameshwar Rao Anupindi. He got his PhD in mechanical engineering from Purdue, and prior to that, he obtained a BTech in mechanical engineering from JNTU and an MTech in aerospace engineering from IIT Kanpur. He has served as a postdoctoral research fellow at the Oak Ridge National Lab as well as at the University of Southampton. He has been a faculty at IIT Madras in the Department of Mechanical Engineering since 2015, and he has also been a winner of the Young Faculty Recognition Award of IIT Madras in 2019. He is the winner of this Srimati Marti Annapurna Gurunath Award for Excellence in Teaching for the immediate preceding year, 2019-2020. So with these words of introduction, I now request Professor Venkat to address the gathering.
Professor Pratap, I first want to thank the Institute for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you on the Teachers' Day. Happy Teachers' Day to all of you. I taught at 3 great institutions, IIT Madras, IIT Kharagpur, and in the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, Germany, during the last 3 decades. I have been fortunate to have taught some of the brightest minds during this period. More importantly, I also learned a lot from my students. Teaching made me a better engineer and scientist. Some of the very simple questions raised in my classes required very deep thinking. There were no ready-made answers for some of the questions. Some of the questions inspired student thesis topics in the following years. And all the difficult questions that I faced in my classes spurred my thinking, and some led to the development of new machines, new journal articles, and even patents. The only worrying aspect for me is that the number of difficult questions I face in the class has decreased with time. That can be a great topic for our next fact discussions. So let me move on from this topic. Our online classes began in March 2020 as soon as the lockdown was announced and has continued since. We have all learned how to use the online medium immediately, almost immediately. And as our director said, some of us were reluctant to use these online teaching methods. But all of us started using, and almost all of us are happy with the new tools that we are using.
Lucy, can you turn the camera on, please?
Online teaching did not stop even during the periods of infection, only because of the dedication of all teachers. I bow to all the teachers for their service throughout the pandemic. The contributions of all teachers, particularly school teachers, to society are no less than that of many other frontline workers. All experienced teachers adjust their teaching continuously based on body language of their students. Teachers sense whether they could get across the point without hearing a word from their students. It is just the body language that tells us a lot. Now, online teaching becomes excruciatingly painful for us when student cameras and microphones are switched off and there is no audio or visual feedback. But we have learned to teach and go ahead. And I know that both students and teachers are looking forward to their face-to-face classes, and that's true for me also. Now, last year, at the end of the first semester of online teaching, we did conduct an online survey of our students and asked their opinion about the online mode that was used and the tools that were used and so on. I recommend that even more extensive surveys be conducted among students to know what they felt was right with online teaching and what they think should be used also. What they liked and what should be used may be different or in their opinion. So I think we should get a very extensive survey done. Now, also we should ask questions about their views on self-learning, which is important in the current context. We should use all our learnings to develop new online courses, maybe expand our online MTech programs, new refresher courses for practicing engineers, and so on. In my opinion, we should, however, resist the temptation of reusing the online course material that we developed somewhat hurriedly during the pandemic. I think once we have learned how to use the visual medium, we can certainly go and rework our courses and make a better use of the visual medium when you come back after the pandemic. I'm keen to see how our regular classes will be transformed once students come back to classrooms. The pandemic has raised the expectation of students, and teachers are likely to struggle in the beginning. Students are also likely to struggle to get back into their regular lives, including learning in the classroom. But I'm convinced that some form of hybrid teaching model will evolve at all levels post the pandemic, as our director also mentioned. As teachers, we should embrace this change and make the best use of the opportunities provided by the visual and online media. Global warming, technological innovations, and increased competition, etc., have all changed our lives in many ways. No one could have dreamt of the mobile phone internet, autonomous cars, navigational maps, mRNA vaccines, and so on, even a decade ago. With all the new upcoming developments in IoT, 5G, artificial intelligence, etc., we are now heading towards fully automated and autonomous factories. And our curriculums need to be changed inside out to prepare our students for this new world. I cannot think of better times than now to implement the new curriculums. We need to reboot our teaching learning processes and move some part of our curriculum from classroom learning to self-learning based on our recent experience. In my opinion, there must be more emphasis on synthesis of devices and equipment, hands-on training using new technologies such as 3D printing and so on in our curriculum. To summarize, there is a need to change our curriculum inside out. The way engineering is taught and learned will need to be changed almost completely. These changes can happen only with the concerted effort of teachers and the full support of the administrators. The post-pandemic days are also the most opportune moments to implement these quantum changes. 30 years on, I still look forward to a new day as eagerly as I did on the first day of my job, only because of my students. Visiting empty labs and classrooms without a single student made me feel quite empty inside during the pandemic. I am eagerly looking forward to my class and my students in our regular classroom the next semester. I take this opportunity to thank all my teachers, without whose dedication and inspiration I would not be standing in front of you today. I wish you all a happy Teachers' Day. Thank you for your time. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Professor Venkat for sharing your experiences both as a faculty and your reminiscences of your student life. I now invite Dr. Kameshwar Rao Anupindi to share his thoughts and experiences on this occasion.
Thank you, Professor Pratap, your kind words. And it's an honor and a privilege for me to talk in today's.
Your volume is a bit low.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you, Professor Professor Pratap, for your kind words and introduction. And it's an honor and privilege for me to be, talking in today's function. So respected Director, Professor Bhaskar Rambuti, dear deans and faculty colleagues and staff, and my dear students, a very good evening to all of you, and my best wishes to you on this occasion of Teachers' Day celebrations. I can say that the Teachers' Day celebrations in India are as old as the establishment of IIT Madras itself, probably with a year on either side. And the Teachers' Day, which was yesterday, is when we say a big thank you to all our teachers, and we show our respect and gratitude to all our teachers in the country. Dear friends, I was fortunate to have been taught by great teachers during my school education, as well as in undergrad and in my doctoral studies. It is because of my teachers and their kindness and inspiration and how they have taught me that has helped me in shaping my career into what I am today. It is only what they have taught me that I am continuing today, and their legacy and their legendary teaching methods. Dear all, ever since I have joined the Department of Mechanical Engineering, I have been given freedom to teach pretty much any course that I wanted to teach. And further, I have benefited largely from discussions and specific guidelines, and a lot of encouragement from some of my senior colleagues here, such as Professor V. Babu and Professor C. Balaji. So with the experience of teaching UG and PG courses, as well as with both core and elective courses, and running an MOOC course on computational fluid dynamics using finite volume method, I have gathered several practices and guidelines which I follow, which I hope you will not hesitate to follow if you find them useful. So I have listed around 4 practices. I'm going to talk about them now. The first one is, as a teacher, our job is to create a vision of success for our students. A vision of success that is so strong that nothing is going to tear it down. Okay, and success is something that is delicious. And if students are successful initially, they want to be successful more, and we have to help them succeed better. Being successful doesn't mean that we have to make our exams easy. We can make the exams as hard as possible. However, we have to train the students, present the material, and then answer all their specific questions so that they can work hard and learn and succeed in their exams. The other practice I follow is learn with the students on the go and make mistakes and correct them. So what I usually do is, whenever doing a derivation or a interpretation of a problem or doing a problem itself, I usually deliberately sometimes make some mistakes and sometimes genuinely. And some of the attentive students in the class will catch that mistake, and this will enable the students to go back and look at the board work again, and also be attentive in the classrooms. It was very rare that a deliberate mistake was left unnoticed until the end of the lecture. So this is something I follow sometimes in some of the derivations to make students attentive and listen to the lectures. And the third practice I follow is make a lesson plan and stick to it. Students have very much liked, through the feedback I got, that a well-organized course and with a structure and it is going in one direction is much more easy to follow, and that is what they appreciate. An unplanned lecture with stuff jumping from back and forth chapters and then switching between concepts is something that frustrates the students and they do not like it. So making a lesson plan and sticking to it is something that is absolutely necessary. Finally, for the final practice I follow is practice good time management and also pester students for asking questions. So beginning the lecture on time and ending it on time is again absolutely necessary. It is perfectly fine if you are in the middle of a lecture, with a long derivation that we have to kind of stop at the hour, but we can always come back on the next lecture and then revisit the derivation rather than finishing it in haste. One peculiar thing I keep doing in my lectures is to keep inviting questions after teaching a certain amount of material. This way, the students feel the need to study and then come back and ask questions in the next lecture. And if they don't have any questions to ask, I have a set of questions that I ask them, which they can answer so that they can demonstrate that they have learned the material that I'm teaching. Most of the times, some of the issues regarding questions or clarifications or concerns that were brought to me by the students, both technical and non-technical, could be solved very easily in a few minutes of time. However, most of them would require 100% of our attention towards the students after the lecture. So this is very important. I hope these 4 practices that I follow will also help you. And if you like them, you can also follow in your own teaching. So with this, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my parents, my mother, who was my first teacher at home, and my father, who was my teacher in my elementary school, who has always strived to provide good education to me and to my sister. I would also like to thank my teachers and advisors during my undergrad and doctoral studies, whose inspiration and kindness and the values that they have instilled in me that I'm going to cherish forever. Specifically, I would like to thank Professor Vinayak Iswaran, who is now at IIT Hyderabad, and Professor Jaiti Murthy, who is now at UCLA, and Professor Tapan Sengupta, who is now at ISM Dhanbad, and Professor Steve Frankel, who is now at Israeli Institute of Technology, IIT, and then Professor Richard Sandberg, who is now at University of Melbourne, Australia. Finally, it would be incomplete if I would not acknowledge and thank my wife, Usha, for her constant support and encouragement, and also taking care of our 2-year-old bundle of joy named Kandachandra Moli, and taking care of other responsibilities while I am away at work here. I would like to say a big thank you, and I would like to conclude my talk with the following quotation by Michelangelo. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we achieve it. Okay, so I request everybody to please keep the bar high, and my best wishes to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kameshwar Rao, and very nice of you to share some of the new aspects that you try out in your class, or aspects that maybe we have tried but maybe not in as systematic manner as you have. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I now invite Professor Shanti Pawan, our Dean Academic Research, to announce the Young Faculty Recognition Award.
Thank you, Professor Pratap. Good evening and welcome, everybody. It's my pleasant duty to announce the winners of the Young Faculty Recognition Awards for this year. For those of you who may not be aware of the history of these awards were set up in 2006 by one of our alumnus, Dr. P. Balasubramaniam, who was a BTech student in aerospace engineering from the 1971 batch and got his MTech in industrial management in 1973. This award is open to faculty who have had consistently good teaching record and whose age is less than 40 years. We limit the number of nominations from each department to 2. This year, the prize money or the award money is has been enhanced to rupees 50,000, which will go into their personal contingency fund, a professional contingency fund, where they can use it for professional activities. So I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Bala for sponsoring this award. This time we received 13 nominations for these awards from all the departments. And the committee spent a lot of time talking to the nominees and finally choosing the names of the awardees. We have 3 colleagues who've been named as the YFRA awardees for this year. In no particular order, they're Dr. Uday Kankoje from the Department of Electrical Engineering, Dr. Sriram Kalpati from the Metallurgical Materials Engineering Department, and Dr. Dawood Kotawala from Physics. So hearty congratulations to the awardees, and I now invite them to make a short acceptance speech. Dr. Uday.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the respected directors, the deans who are on this call, faculty members who are also attending the call, and to students. I'm grateful for the acknowledgement which I'm receiving today. And I thought I would convey my sentiments via a very simple little set of slides. Just give me 1 second. Okay, hopefully my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we've heard about teaching practices and good practices in the speech by the chief guest so far. I'd like to take a slightly different route for what I want to say, which is mostly a note of gratitude. I'd like to recall a few specific mentors which I have had over the last few years and tell you a little bit about them, because even though I have encountered them many moons ago, their memory and their touch is still very fresh in my mind. So this Professor Vikram Gadre from IIT Bombay, he was one of the first professors who taught us a couple of courses on network theory and so on. And just the kindness with which he approached us and mentored students, whether it was for academic or personal difficulties, was phenomenal. He was the one who introduced me to research as an undergraduate. I wrote my first paper with him. Some small result, but the kind of encouragement which he gave me was something which really made it clear to me that research is the way to go. There was Professor Gopal Srinivasan from the maths department, who had such an amazing excitement for maths that it was very inspiring. He went to the extent of learning German so that he could read Gauss's paper in the original. So that kind of enthusiasm was infectious. And he would spend a lot of time with students at IIT Bombay's coffee shack, and just sharing his enthusiasm with us, which made a big difference to us. And of course, there was Professor Shivgaonkar, who was a phenomenal teacher in his special ability to bring physics to life. He taught me electromagnetics, and the way and passion with which he taught the subject made it come alive to the extent that I chose to work on electromagnetics as my career choice. So it's a huge impact that he's had on me. After leaving IIT Bombay, I went on to another place. I went to Caltech for my PhD. And one of the most remarkable persons I encountered there was Professor Amnon Yarid. While I was there, he was 90 years old, and still he was able to convey the excitement of physics like no one else. He was the sharpest person in any conference room, and he could, he maintained his curiosity all the time, which is a very rare quality. During my postdoc at JPL, I met Tom Swick, and the way he met me was very strange. He saw me carrying a finite element book in the elevator. He asked me, "Why are you reading this?" And a few months down the line, we had written a couple of papers together, just because he was so genuinely excited about science and willing to make friends over science. Finally, my postdoc advisor, Martha Mogdam at USC, she gave me a very good insight into how to run a research group with tremendous amount of generosity, whether it's personal or financial, and to be, to show how to be a better person in a difficult situation. So these are some of the things which I've learned from the mentors I've had over the years, for which this is an apt opportunity for me to give back. On a personal front, coming to the nuts and bolts, everyday working environment, electrical engineering department is just phenomenal. Everyone is very supportive and nice. Of course, my research scholars and various TAs who make all the teaching and research fun. The admin and the staff at IIT Madras are also something which give a lot of support, and their unflinching loyalty and dedication is something that I'm very, very touched by. Finally, this is my wife, Shweta, who I consider like the bedrock of my emotional well-being. That's my dog, Tara. You'll often see me flying at the other end of the leash on campus. And of course, my family, who, have believed in me all along. And I mean, there's not enough I can say to thank them. So with this, I would like to bring my small presentation to an end. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Uday. Now I invite Dr. Sriram Kalpati to say a few words.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So, respected Director, Professor Bhaskar Rambuti, respected Chief Guest, Professor Venkat and Dr. YFRA Award, respected Deans and all attendees of this function. It's a great privilege to be recognized as a YFRA awardee on Teachers' Day. And it was very wonderful to interact with the YFRA committee led by Professor Shanti Pawan. And if the YFRA committee found any aspect of merit or excellence in my teaching, I owe the credit to my former teachers and professors at IIT Madras, from whom I learned not just the subject technicalities, but also how to teach. And although several people have contributed to my success, I would just like to take 1 minute to make a special mention of about a few people in this context. During my initial days as a faculty here, Professor Pratap Haridas gave me a lot of useful tips and advice on how to view my teaching from a student's perspective. Knowing the student psychology as an IITM alumnus and implementing those points have really paid off and helped in inspiring several students, is what I believe. Then my PhD advisor, Professor Satish Kumar, and a few other equally good teachers whom I have met from my PhD alma mater, University of Minnesota in USA, have been very instrumental in shaping my teaching. A lot of thanks and credit is due to my research scholars, TAs, and project staff who have stood by me and helped in the establishment and maintenance of a research lab. And they have worked faithfully under my guidance and also become self-sufficient researchers. Then the entire IITM administration for constantly facilitating and encouraging the growth of the professional growth of faculty, and of course, family and friends who have been very supportive in my profession. So I wish that IITM keeps growing to greater heights with the new faculty and teachers who will inspire students through both their teaching as well as research. And I too promise to contribute my best towards the growth and success of this institute. And with this, I conclude and thank you and wish you all a happy Teachers' Day.
Thank you very much, Sriram. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Dawood Kotawala.
Thank you, Professor Shanti Pawan. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel extremely honored to be receiving this award. It's certainly very encouraging. And let me begin by congratulating the fellow co-recipients, Dr. Uday and Dr. Sriram as well. I would like to thank the YFRA committee for recognizing our efforts to this award and Arul for nominating me for the same. Let me also acknowledge my colleagues and friends here at IIT Madras and particularly the Department of Physics. They've all been a very valued part of my times here since 2012, which is when I joined. I would also like to thank my parents who have always been at the forefront as far as my teaching part is. I come from a family where my parents and uncles have all been teachers. I would like to thank my wife as well for standing by with me. Mostly, I would also like to thank our institute on the whole, from the director to the deans, the academic section, the administrative sections. One of the biggest advantages which I have always felt in an institute like an IIT is its very vibrant student community that you get to engage with. And they are the ones who keep the student instinct in you always alive. And I have really had fun with that aspect of the life here at IIT. Okay? And we have all felt their absence over the last couple of years, and I'm expecting that we'll soon have them on campus, as Professor Venkat also said, and the campus will soon be buzzing with their energy, hopefully very soon. Okay? So I would like to end my note by paraphrasing a quote which I like a lot. It's by a French writer and aviator, but it very nicely and aptly captures my own approach to teaching and research. It goes something like this, that if you want to build a ship, you do not have to drum up people, assign them tasks, tell them what to do, what not to do. All you have to do is tell them to imagine the immensity of the sea, and the ship will take care of itself. I have used this as motivation for my teaching as well as research, and I hope that my students have appreciated the same during their engagement with me. I look forward to many more worthwhile years here at IIT Madras, and I would like to thank the entire faculty and the entire team of IIT Madras, and wish them all a very happy Teachers' Day. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dawood. Finally, we have Professor Gopalakrishna, the President of our Faculty Association, who will give a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a very happy Teachers' Day to the entire institute. The Faculty Association would like to congratulate all the winners in both the categories, and wish that their research and teaching goes higher and higher. We would like to thank Director Professor Bhaskar Rambuti and all the deans for making this program happen. We like to thank the registrar, the deputy registrar, and all our colleagues in the administration who made this program possible. We also like to thank the Computer Center for helping make this program happen, and wish you all a very good week and good times ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Gopalakrishnan.
Thank you, Professor Gopalakrishnan. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. With that, we conclude this celebration that we have had this evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.